Well, howdy there.
Gotta get my microphone up here. Uh, how's it going? Happy Wednesday. Um, hope the week's been treating you good. Boy, the weather has been absolutely gorgeous out here. Just like nice, cool. I mean, still freezing pretty hard in the morning. But then I think it was between 65 and 70 this afternoon. And yeah, like I was down to just a button up and a vest. No flannel, no pullover, no nothing like that. And at least this afternoon, and it was awesome. It was awesome. I was unloading some cattle on foot, and I was kind of moving around a little bit, and got working up a little bit of sweat. I was like, hey, it's kind of hot. It's not really all that hot, but compared to what it has been, yeah, it felt good to sweat because you were a little hot. So anyhow, I hope you guys are kind of experiencing the same stuff. Spring sure feels like it's upon us, don't it? Been hearing reports from folks saying that they're getting close to finished with calving, at least with heifers, and of course there's people like just kind of getting ready to start calving, up when you get further up north. So anyway, it's all coming together. All is planned. Spring will be here uh pretty damn quick. Aaron is out today. Him and his lovely wife had some financial planning or something to do. I forget. They had something to do today and or this evening, and so flying solo, and boy, there's a lot to talk about. Um, and we'll just jump right into it. So, uh, we are in the middle of a international conflict, as it turns out. We've got once again we got Russia and Ukraine. Uh, it has dominated the headlines. And not that it shouldn't. It's a pretty big deal. Um, and it's really really starting to get ugly over there. It sounds like, but as you know, um, as I've said for quite a while, I'm taking a more trying to take a more nuanced view. And it's not that I am pro Vladimir Putin, pro Russia, or anti Ukraine. Um, I just don't trust any of these governments involved. You have Russia, who is run by uh, this fella here, Vladimir Putin, and he is a straight up gangster. Um, and I say that with like contempt and respect all at the same time. A dude is absolutely ruthless. He is a very smart guy. But we're also seeing that maybe he's not quite the supervillain that we think he is. Not that he's not capable of being incredibly brutal and ruthless like that. That's without question he is. Um, but maybe not quite as super smart as we thought. It's not that he's not smart, but maybe he didn't read the situation quite so well, or maybe um, the intelligence uh, didn't really treat him that well, a la the Iraq invasion with WMDs and stuff. So anyhow, let's get into a little bit of this. I tell you what, I had a hell of a time trying to find the other side of story, and yeah, so this this one, and kind of I wanted to highlight this story in particular, and then highlight from the complete opposing view, but Zoom is not treating me very well over here. But anyway, Scottish government urged to act on, there we go, on pro-Putin propaganda in universities. And I don't know if you can read that, but anyhow, I'll just keep going with it. Scottish government has been urged to do more to stop university lecturers sharing pro-Putin propaganda. Call from the Scottish Conservatives came as ministers south of the border promised to crack down on academics accused of acting as useful idiots for Putin's atrocities in Ukraine. Now, keep in mind that the Brits are not real well known for freedom of speech. They are, I don't know, maybe not quick, but they're not afraid to go ahead and clamp down on certain types of dissent and just speech in general whenever they feel the need. So keep that in mind. Speaking in the Commons Monday, UK Government Education Secretary Nadhim Zahawi. I'm guessing that is a Middle Eastern fella or Middle Eastern descent. Told MPs that MPs are members of Parliament. Told MPs that institutions where staff had been sharing pro-Kremlin views were being contacted. One of those accused of disseminating pro-Putinist propaganda is Professor Tim Hayward at the University of Edinburgh. He retweeted a Russian representative to the United Nations describing the attack on Mariupol's maternity hospital as fake news, with the comment, "As long as we're still able to hear two sides of the story, we should continue striving to do so." Professor Hayward, who specializes in environmental political theory, said he was tweeting in a personal capacity and that he did not retweet but quote tweeted. And so that is a pretty important distinction. So if you're not on Twitter, and this is one of the reasons I like Twitter, like the how easy it is to share stuff. So if you like something, you can click retweet, and all that does is just share that exact tweet on your feed. And but if you quote tweet, then it shows that tweet, but you can also comment on it, and so it's like a whole new tweet. So just like it embeds the original tweet in a post of yours. And so typically how it works on Twitter, like Twitter etiquette, I guess, if you will. That is the lamest thing I've ever said on this podcast. The podcast for the working cowboy, and fence post politics, because we're all rustic and tough, and here we are. I'm talking about Twitter etiquette. But hey, that's the world that we're living in, and I'm trying to bring you news as I see it, because I know that I have a little different worldview than a lot of people, and also, the whole autism thing. I don't think I'm, anyhow. I get on a rabbit hole, and I keep digging, and a lot of people don't do that. So I I'm trying to I'm trying to provide, like I said, the news as I see it, and this is kind of where we're at. So we got a professor who's posting on Twitter. Twitter is it's not a huge percent of the population that is on Twitter. I think they're like a couple 100 million users worldwide. So that means, I don't know, maybe 100 million users in the U.S. I honestly don't know, but they're nowhere near as big as say like Instagram or Facebook. Facebook in particular is like I think they're over a billion users. I mean, it's a huge, massive platform. Um, but Twitter is a very influential platform because that's where a lot of your media types congregate, and they use it to break news and it's, I don't know, it's just it's a different type of platform than Instagram or Facebook, and it's more uniquely towards like the news media is centered there, and so rather than scamming or skimming the headlines and seeing what's going on, you can get a good idea. But sometimes they're not up to date because you know people have to write those news stories, so they lag behind a little bit. But if you want to find news in real time, you go to Twitter and find what's trending, and you find the topic. So if Ukraine is trending, you just click on that, and it's just like the top tweets, or and you can set it or as the latest tweets, whatever. But you can see stuff come in real time, and it's a good way to follow a developing news story, or to just kind of gauge where like the media landscape is going to be for the day. It's a good tool. I hate what they've become. I hate the fact that you know the Taliban, uh, which is considered by the U.S. government as an active terror organization, has an official Twitter account. But at the time, the sitting president of the United States was kicked off. I mean that just something is fucked about that whole situation. But that all being said, it's still a really valuable resource. And so, anyhow, Twitter etiquette kind of goes that if you simply retweet it, like you're kind of in agreement with it. Um, if you quote tweet it, it's not so much that you agree with it. That's why you can add your own caption, and it's so you're drawing attention to that particular tweet for whatever reason it may be, but you can also explain why. And so I don't know, it's a good tool like that. And so when we go back to this professor where he said he didn't retweet it, but he quote tweeted, and not they didn't put links to what he actually tweeted. So I don't know what he said in response to that, to that tweet. So anyhow, but it was basically a story from a Russian source that was saying that the maternity ward that was supposedly bombed by Russian forces was not actually a maternity ward, or it wasn't. Not that it wasn't a maternity ward, but it wasn't done by Russian forces. It was actually done. It was blown up by the Azov battalion, or I don't know if it's the official Azov battalion, but anyhow, this neo-Nazi group out of Ukraine that is helping or trying to defend the city of Mariupol, and so it wasn't bombed by Russian forces, but rather it was blown up by neo-Nazis and like or uh, these Ukrainian nationalists to make the Russians look bad, and what did he? I guess what did he say? Maybe okay, here, yeah. So it said he quoted with that, as long as we're still able to hear two sides of the story, we should continue striving to do so. And so, in that particular story, I mean, it is polar opposite of what is being reported, depending on what side of the conflict you're on. So either Russian troops bombed a maternity ward, or Ukrainian nationalists with neo-Nazi ties purposely bombed a maternity ward to draw to blame the Russian troops. So that one, it seems like a little tougher. I mean, usually there's a lot of gray area in between. That one does seem like a little bit of a kind of a bipolar situation. there might be like something where maybe there the Ukrainian troops were sheltering in the hospital, and then the Russian troops fired on it. But the way it's being reported in the West is they purposely fired on a bunch of helpless pregnant women, and not that I'm against that. Tell you the truth, pregnant women creep me the fuck out. Uh, I don't know what it is. It's an irrational, not so much a fear, but it's a phobia for sure. Um, I have two kids. I stayed with my wife the whole time she was pregnant, both times, and I got through it because I'm a survivor. Uh, but it was weird. Let me tell you, it's I love my wife very much. I loved my pregnant wife very much, but it was pregnant bellies give me the Hebrew jeebies. And anyhow, um, what's being reported on the West is Russian troops purposely bombed this innocent maternity ward. Was being reported on the Russian side of things is that it was a false flag operation by neo Nazis, and it seems to be like, I don't know if to say it falls somewhere in the middle, but it probably falls somewhere in not either one of those. And I don't know how else to put it. So, um, okay. So then during the common sessions, Robert Halfin, the chair of the Westminster Education Select Committee, raised the comments from Hayward and two other academics and asked if the government would take action to stop universities acting as useful idiots for the Kremlin. Mr. Zahawi said UK ministers had already been in touch with the university. Quote, Putin and his cronies are a malign influence on anyone in this country buying their false narrative. I repeat, it is a false and dangerous narrative, and we will crack down on it hard, end quote. Scottish Conservative Shadow Minister for Higher and Further Education, Pam Gozal, said she hoped the Scottish government would follow suit. Quote, it is shameful that a professor at Edinburgh University believed it was acceptable to retweet these pro-Kremlin lies, end quote. Another quote, the bombing of this maternity hospital was beyond horrific, and it beggars belief that this professor shared a post describing it as fake news. This sort of disinformation has no place in our higher education sector as the people of Ukraine continue to suffer from Russia's appalling actions. SNP ministers should send out the clearest possible message that sharing this sort of pro-Putin propaganda is completely unacceptable in our universities. Minister for Higher and Further Education Jamie Hepburn was critical of Hayward's tweet, but said it was an internal matter for Edinburgh University. I said any attempt to repeat the twisted rhetoric and disinformation of Russian authorities about their brutal and wholly unjustified actions in Ukraine is unacceptable. As autonomous bodies, universities are solely responsible for internal institution matters such as complaints made or disciplinary actions taken against staff and students. I will continue to encourage. Oh, you son of a bitch. Well, I was gonna finish reading that story, but I don't know what happened to my page there. Anyhow, moving on. Same story from Russia Today. Professor faces government crackdown for questioning Ukraine narrative. A Scottish professor was slammed for sharing an article claiming the Mariupol theater bombing was staged. University of Edinburgh professor Tim Hayward is being hammered in the media for sharing an article suggesting the bombing of a theater in the Ukrainian city of Mariupol may have been staged by Ukrainian nationalists. Hayward's skepticism has already led Education Secretary Nadeem Zahawi to promise a crackdown on such wrongthink. Hayward shared an article on Sunday from the Gray Zone, a left-wing news outlet, citing eyewitnesses in the Ukrainian city of Mariupol. Article claims that Ukrainian Azov fighters, once described by Western outlets and lawmakers as neo-Nazis, sheltered behind civilians in a theater in Mariupol before blowing up the building as Russian forces entered the Ukrainian city. Azov forces and journalists linked to the extremist unit accused Russia of bombing the building and used the incident to call for Western intervention against Russia. U.S. President Joe Biden declared Russian President Vladimir Putin a war criminal in response, and American politicians from both parties and from Europe renewed their calls for military aid, including fighter jets for Ukraine. However, no video exists showing the theater being bombed, and Russia denies attacking the building, stating that it has never been considered as a strike target. Conflicting reports of the weapons supposedly used in civilian casualties or lack thereof only muddy the picture further. Yet Hayward was condemned by his colleagues for raising the issue in a Times article on Tuesday, accusing him of spreading propaganda. Dr. Alexander something, I'm not even going to attempt that. A misinformation researcher at Oxford University said that we must be careful when reading reports critical of the official narrative in Ukraine, and that outlets like the Gray Zone are currently engaged in a massive disinformation campaign. He did not provide any evidence that would support such allegations against the media outlet. Hayward has been singled out by the Scottish government, too, having shared articles questioning the alleged bombing of a maternity hospital in Mariupol, claiming that Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad did not gas his own citizens, as Western sources insist. The professor was accused in Westminster last week by Tory MP Robert Halfon as being a useful idiot for Putin's atrocities. The Syria deal, the Assad gassing his people, that is absolutely not true. It came out in the media that he did. Everybody was riled up, and then like 6 months later, UN investigation confirms that there was no evidence that he actually did it, but that was it was not the front page headline. It was like page 6, way down below the fold. But it was there, so they let you know they did report on it. Just kind of hit it a little. Speaking to Edinburgh Live, Hayward said he is concerned about restrictions of free speech and considers hearing both points of view important in wartime. Quote, in war, miscalculations can have terrible consequences. We know that misinformation can sometimes even slip through on our side, as when the UK went to war in Iraq, mistakenly believing it had weapons of mass destruction, he said. As for the people of Ukraine, there is need for peace, not to become the epicenter of World War III. He added, referring to the widely held belief that there were Western powers to intervene in Ukraine, the consequences would be a third world war. So, let me show you what it looks like to try to find different articles, or get to different articles on Russia Today. Like each one of these is a link that I clicked to try to open, just open it in a new tab. And I tried it with my VPN on. I went to several different countries with the VPN on. And I don't know if it is Western governments. I don't know if it is the Russian government that is trying to not let RT be seen. But either way, it is real annoying because it's kind of important to see what the other side of the equation is saying in this whole war. Um, if nothing else, it kind of gives you, at least they you know what they're saying about us, and you maybe not get a better view on their tactics, but you at least have a better view of how they want their people to view us, and which makes it easier to counter that. So censorship is a terrible thing, and this just trying to blot out all of anything coming out of Russia is a mistake. I mean, it's it's a very much a, it's a Nazi type move. It's a Soviet type move. It's any type of authoritarian regime that you can think of. State media, and while we don't technically have state media here, we have giant corporations acting at the behest of the state, and not only are we blocking stuff out, but here we got a professor that's saying like, "Hey, this is what Russia is saying about this incident that everybody is really pissed off about," and they're calling him you know a Russian puppet, basically, and all he's saying is like, "Hey, look at this. This is what Russia is saying. We should probably take a look at that, and maybe I don't know. At least it's a good thing to see what they're saying. But anyhow, there was a couple fake news about Russian state bodies. I don't remember that one. Uh oh yeah. So this is a good one. Also on the censorship side, and this is coming from Russia Today. Fake news about Russia state bodies abroad criminalized. So, the Russia State Duma, the parliament's lower house, has adopted new legislation which would see those disseminating disseminating false information, end quote, about state institution abroad, jailed for up to 15 years. The move follows similar legislation targeting individuals deemed to be spreading fake news about the actions of the country's military forces. On Monday, commenting on the legislation, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov told reporters that, quote, unprecedented conditions require unprecedented solutions, end quote. He explained that current situation can be described as unprecedented in terms of imposing absolute hatred on everything Russian, whether it is Russian missions, Russian citizens, or foreign citizens who are of Russian origin. Everyone now faces just hatred, oppression, and situations, and sometimes begin to pose a threat to health and life. On Tuesday, parliamentarians approved the amendments to the criminal code and to the code of administrative offenses, both in the second and the third reading. So, yeah, there's the Soviets that we know and love. So while they're talking shit on Scotland and England for censoring this or bashing this professor for retweeting an article or quote tweeting an article. Here they are making the penalty 15 years in prison for speaking out or spreading fake news abroad. So it's like I said before, just watching all the propaganda be pumped out is it's a sight to behold, and I don't know, it's a wild deal. There's this one was interesting as well. Also from RT, and like I said, I'm not believing, I'm not taking them at face value by any means. This is this is Russian state media, and remember, the Russians were the Soviets, so they got that streak in them. They know how to do this propaganda shit pretty well. However, RT is a pretty good source for like a different slant on news, and I've used it quite a bit. But you just know it's Russian state media, so you gotta take it with a big grain of salt. And penicillin's probably not going to cover it. Maybe the Russian COVID vaccine will take one of those and a grain of salt. So Ukraine accuses Hungary of having designs on its land. Deputy PM alleges that cheap Russian gas and a thirst for territory could be behind Budapest's pro-Russian rhetoric. And this is another good example of being truthful but not being honest. So Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister Irina Vereshchuk has questioned what she has described as Hungary's pro-Russian rhetoric, describing that the desire for cheap Russian gas or even a potential land grab could be behind Budapest's policy over the conflict between Moscow and Kiev. In a lengthy Facebook post, she claimed the official claimed that not even all Russian satellites away from former Soviet Union behave the way Hungary's authorities do. That Hungary does not support sanctions against Russia, refuses to provide Ukraine with weapons, and even does not allow weapons from other countries to pass via their territory. In fact, they say no to everything, a bit more, and Budapest's official rhetoric will be totally pro-Russian. What is this? Want some cheap Russian gas? Or maybe want our Transcarpathia? That's an area of Ukraine, I think. I'm not sure. Transcarpathia. It sounds like a transgender superhero. We'll get to that soon. Don't you worry. Vereshchuk wrote before calling on Budapest to join the civilized world and not to repeat the mistakes of World War II when Hungary made a totally wrong choice. Earlier on Tuesday, Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjarto. I'm not gonna attempt that. That is way too many consonants where there shouldn't be consonant. Anyway, Foreign Minister that guy from Hungary said that his country would not support anti-Russian sanctions, which would cause harm to its own interests, including penalties targeting Russian gas and oil. He also reiterated that Hungary was against any proposals involving sending NATO soldiers to Ukraine or creating a no-fly zone over the country, explaining that such actions would raise the risk of a large-scale war. Though the Hungarian government has condemned Moscow's attack on Ukraine, supported some sanctions, it has consistently defended its wish to stay out of the conflict and has refused to join other countries in sending weapons to Ukraine. Sounds like a pretty reasonable situation from a country who is very close to that conflict and doesn't want to get fucked up. So, once again, take that with a grain of salt, Russian state media. But I'm gonna do the Patreon segment. There was a really good podcast today with Joe Rogan with Mike Baker, who's a former CIA guy, but not just like an analyst. Like he was a covert ops type of guy, and he's his worldview is a little more towards what Aaron views, kind of that neoconservative war hawk type mentality. He's not, but he's also very rational, realist, and just a good interview. Every time he's on Joe Rogan, I I tune in immediately because he's a very informed guy, and anyhow, I'm gonna kind of do a recap of that episode that he had of Rogan today. I think it was today, yesterday, maybe. I listened to it today, so that'll be the Patreon episode here in a few minutes. But
It's too much stuff. Then what I did was I remortgaged my house and put
yeah, this whole Ukraine deal is it's messy and it's getting to be ugly. So tune in for that. And if you're not subscribed, patreon.com/burning daylight, and you'll get to listen. Moving on though, here stateside, we got plenty going on, and this is from New York City. NYPD sued over DNA database that contains genetic profiles of innocent New Yorkers. The New York PD or NYPD's DNA database is comprised of an ever-growing number of genetic profiles of thousands of innocent New Yorkers, including children, the lawsuit alleges. The Legal Aid Society, in a suit filed Monday in Manhattan federal court, is asking a judge to declare unconstitutional the practice of secretly taking, analyzing, and maintaining people's DNA in its suspect index. The Public Defenders Group seeks an order. Who's editing these articles? The Public Defenders Group seeks an order the NYPD expunge the DNA files and records. Seeks an order that the NYPD. I mean, just anyhow. There are 31,826 DNA profiles. That was a Joe Biden number count there. 31,826 DNA profiles in the database at last count, according to the suit. The database, which is maintained by the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, has been the subject of much debate over the past few years. NYPD said it operates within the bounds of the law and that the database is an important tool used to obtain justice for each crime victim. Critics have said the policy that allows police to collect DNA without consent, such as offering a suspect a soda and then keeping the can for forensic analysis, even if the person is not charged with a crime, is a violation of privacy rights. So, and they've noted that while a conviction is required before someone's DNA can be entered in a state-run database, those built by local authorities operate outside those requirements. So, long story short, if say a little girl witnesses crime while she's waiting at the bus stop or something, and they bring her in for questioning, and they offer her a juice box or something, and for whatever reason they decide to go ahead. Maybe we'll see if and it could be for completely honest reasons. Say like, hey, maybe this little girl is tied to a crime or something, and we got her DNA here, so we can see if it matches anything at the crime scene, and that'll tie up a loose end. There's scenarios. That was something just right off the top of my head. But either way, rather than getting a warrant for that, since they didn't ask for her DNA, they just offered her a juice box, which she accepted because she's a little girl, and then they kept it, and then now they have their DNA, and they got it, completely innocently, and then they can keep that in the file for later on. To what end? Your guess is as good as mine, but that is currently, as it stands, completely legal in the state of New York, and 31,826 times, at least that has been done. So yes, back the blue, ladies and gentlemen, back the blue. The Fourth Amendment was put in the Bill of Rights for a reason. For a reason. Next up, Joe Biden is headed to Europe. Biden heads to Europe in an effort to bolster the Western alliance. What he plans to do, I'm not real for sure. President Joe Biden will confront the growing Ukrainian refugee crisis in the most direct way yet when he visits Poland this week, where he will pledge more American aid to alleviate human suffering, discuss the emergency with Polish leaders, and potentially meet Ukrainians who have fled their homeland. The visit is a part of a trip to Brussels and Warsaw, where Biden aims to reiterate American global leadership, and at a time when the Russian invasion of Ukraine threatens to settle into an indefinite slog. It's been 3 weeks, people. I know we live in a real like fast society. War very rarely is over quick. We got lucky the first time we went to war with Iraq. Typically it doesn't not over quick. To bolster the NATO alliance and reassure Ukraine that the U.S. commitment is ongoing. It's a good thing that he's not going to Ukraine. That would be awful. If he got killed over there, ooh, man, that'd be a bad deal. Bad deal. And especially as old as he is, he could just die, and they say that the Russians did it. They could say he was poisoned by Putin, and that would be believable enough, I think. But man, that would turn out bad, so bad. I don't know what he's planning on doing there. This is a neat one too. Project Veritas says the Fed secretly accessed its emails. It's another kind of switcheroo loophole type deal, like the New York City DNA database. This particular story, I like how they lead this off. A group that has singled out journalists and Democrats. They could have said investigative reporting, reporter, or whatever. It's a legit news outlet. Are they biased? Yes. But anyhow, this article is equally biased by leading off that with that a group that has singled out journalists and Democrats instead of saying an investigative reporting group. Anyway, an undercover operations contends that prosecutors misled a federal court and sought unwarranted gag orders during a federal investigation of the group's ties to the alleged theft of a diary belonging to President Joe Biden's daughter, Ashley. Now, I have not done much digging into this Ashley Biden diary. I've heard a little bit about it, but not enough to speak intelligently. So I'm not going to comment on it because I just don't know enough about it. But in November, the FBI conducted pre-dawn raids at the home of Project Veritas founder James O'Keefe and the homes of 2 other individuals who worked with that group. And by pre-dawn raid, it was a full FBI SWAT team at like 4 o'clock in the morning. For this guy, kind of a nerdy journalist. The raids. Okay, so the agents acted with warrants that allows them to seize phones and computers to search for evidence of trafficking in interstate property. The raids generated controversy in some circles because Project Veritas identifies itself as a news organization, and the use of search warrants against journalists and news outlets is extremely rare due to Justice Department policies and federal law passed in 1980 to limit such investigative steps. They really they went out of their way to not call James O'Keefe a journalist. Identifies itself as a news organization. I don't know. You can call them a poor source of news, but they're I mean, they literally are a news organization. Doesn't mean they're a good one, but they are a news organization. After the raids, U.S. District Court Judge Annalisa Torres agreed to a request by the group to put in place a special master to review the information on the seized devices to ensure that prosecutors did not get access to emails, text messages, or other records that might be subject to attorney-client privilege or other legal protections. So, basically what she did was appoint somebody to oversee this, to make sure that they were searching within the scope of the warrant that was issued. However, in a letter Tuesday to a federal judge overseeing the aspects of the probe, Project Veritas attorneys said they recently learned that for nearly a year before last November's raids, prosecutors used gag orders to keep quiet other steps taken in the diary probe, including grand jury subpoenas and court-ordered seizures of all emails O'Keefe and several colleagues kept in particular accounts over a 3-month span in 2020. Prosecutors obtained warrants to seize all emails from an account belonging to one unnamed person the group's lawyers called a Project Veritas journalist during a period spanning more than a year from 2020 to 2021. In some or all of the cases, prosecutors obtained non-disclosure orders, often called gag orders, prohibiting disclosure of the fact of the searches to the users of the account. The letter to Torres complains that even as lawyers for Project Veritas and prosecutors were laying out their respective views about a special master to address the information seized in the November FBI raids, prosecutors had similar and perhaps identical information from the group from earlier warrants that did not reveal that fact and continued to renew the gag orders related to those searches. So they basically circumvented it by going around it earlier. They so even though the judge put this gag order on or implemented this what they call the master. I don't know. It's apparently there's some fuckery and yeah, and this was all done by the Biden DOJ. So more attacks on the freedom of the press and free speech in general. So yeah, that's neat. I'm not a giant fan of Project Veritas, but that's pretty ridiculous. Who we got? Oh, this is fun. This is fun. Disney staffers to take to streets and social media and walk out over companies' reactions to the Don't Say Gay bill. Hulu, Disney Plus, FX, ESPN Plus, and more offer social media support. The planned full-day walkout at Disney today over the company's fumbled response to Florida's discriminatory Don't Say Gay bill has seen an outpouring of support from LGBTQ plus community from some leading divisions. House of Mouse's empire. And according to sources on the Burbank lot earlier this morning, there weren't any protesters gathering outside the Alameda Avenue gate yet. Just some cameramen and other media. This turned into a calculated walkout at 10 a.m. Instead of protesting in front of the studio gate on Alameda Avenue, under 100 staffers headed over to the Betty Davis picnic area nearby. By 11 a.m., it was crickets in front of the Burbank gate, with studio security clueless that a protest ever occurred. The road closures on nearby South Keystone pertain not to a protest, but an actual location production shoot going on. Got a pretty good video. Say gay, 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 say gay. In this next group, you'll see outside in California wearing When contacted by email, a number of Disney staffers had "I am out today in solidarity with my blah 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 LGBTQ IA plus colleagues" as their out of office message. Some also took to social media themselves, and yeah, the Florida "Don't Say Gay" bill, what was dubbed the "Don't Say Gay" bill by opponents of it. Basically, what it does is ban the discussion of sexuality and gender fluidity or whatever. All like the trans stuff, but like not really trans because you're not. Most of them are not actually doing the transition. They just want to be part of it. I mean, cool thing, and you don't really want to, just give yourself the old snip, but you want to get some clout, so you just say that you're a woman today. Anyhow, Florida decided that at least wait till fourth grade. Like, give us till fourth grade before you go ahead with this stuff. And of course, these Disney employees say no. Fourth grade. By fourth grade, if we don't teach them that there is 7 million genders and 9 different ways that you can put a penis in a butthole, and it's not gay per se, it's fluid. There, just let that one hang there. It's fluid. And then but if they don't learn that stuff by fourth grade, they're lost. They'll always go about their lives thinking that biological males cannot be, childbearing women, and we can't have that. So we got to start them early, and that's what that lockout was over, or walkout protest. Seemed lively. Seemed like a lot of people. Lot of good folks out there. Now we've got New World Order. Got a video here, and I posted a video of this on my Instagram and TikTok because pay attention to this sign language.
We are at an inflection point, I believe, in the world economy. Not just the world economy, in the world. It occurs every 3 or 4 generations. As one of the top military people said to me in a secure meeting the other day, 60 million people died between 1900 and 1946. And since then, we established a liberal world order, and that hadn't happened in a long while. A lot of people dying, but like, nowhere near the chaos.
You don't know me.
And now is the time when things are shifting.
Oh, you're coming at me?
There's going to be a new world order out there.
When your Mando got a job?
We've got to unite the rest of the free world in doing it. So anyway.
Yeah. And then if you missed that little part while I was interpreting the sign language interpreter.
We are at an inflection point, I believe, in the world. There'll be a new world order out there. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it. We've got to unite the rest of the free world in doing it.
One more time.
There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it. We've got to unite the rest of the free world in doing it. So anyway.
Well, what you did not hear there was Joe Biden advocating for a new world order. I don't know what you think you heard. That was definitely not Joe Biden advocating for a new world order. This was trending on Twitter, New World Order was. And sometimes when just a phrase like that is trending, Twitter will offer a little a little explanation as to why that's trending or to what it means. And here we go. New World Order was trending in politics. Unfounded claims about the New World Order conspiracy theory are discussed after Joe Biden used the phrase as he spoke about the United States response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine during an address to the Business Roundtable CEO quarterly meeting. Why he was speaking there, I wonder, couldn't possibly have anything to do with campaign fundraising. But although you heard him say that, that is an unfounded, vicious rumor or something along those lines. I don't know what that was. This is okay. So this is from Not the Bee, which is like the sister site to the Babylon Bee, where the headlines are, as you can see, equally ridiculous, but rather than as opposed to the Babylon Bee, they're not satire. They're truthful. They're real headlines. So, based Ron DeSantis slams NCAA for allowing Lia Thomas to compete as a woman. Officially recognizes Sarasota's Emma Wyant as a winner. In a tweet, he said, by allowing men to compete in women's sports, the NCAA is destroying opportunities for women, making a mockery of its championships, and perpetuating a fraud. In Florida, we reject these lies and recognize Sarasota's Emma Wyant as the best overall women's swimmer in the 500-yard freestyle. Little context on this. See if I can find that one, but it's Lia Thomas. Lia Thomas is this brave young woman's name. She did it for mankind, folks, and mankind. Lia Thomas, transgender swimmer from University of Pennsylvania, crushed the competition in the NCAA 500-yard freestyle. Lia Thomas and her enormous testicles cemented the fact that men are genetically superior to women in every conceivable way. And every now and then you get your little perks where you think you guys are better at us than at something than we are. We let you have it for a little while, but after so long, you get uppity, and we got to just smash that back down, and we got to reassert control. And that is what Lia Thomas did with her giant, enormous cock and balls, just gliding to an electric victory over the evil women in the 500-yard freestyle. Congratulations to Miss Lia Thomas and her gigantic cock and balls. It's a hard-won victory. And you know, some people don't really like to they don't like to admit that that these things are necessary, but when a woman starts to get too confident, and that can be dangerous, and so you just gotta nip it in the bud. So you want your own sports, okay, but just know that at any given time, we'll put on a wig and we will rock your world. So congratulations, Lia Thomas, Woman of the Year in my book. That's all I got for the main episode. If you're a subscriber, we'll come back around. We'll discuss the Mike Baker, Joe Rogan podcast. And if you're not, well, you should go patreon.com/burning and sign up there, and you'll get to listen to my thoughts and maybe a few more dick jokes. Who knows? Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you go check out the website. We got a few t-shirts up there. We'll have hats up soon. Burning-daylight.com. Check out the Uncommon Sense blog. And Jen Hill's putting out really good stuff over there. Mackenzie will have some more stuff over there. Make sure you listen to Cattle News Central every Monday through Thursday right here on Burning Daylight podcast. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. You guys are awesome. And have a good week. And move your ass. We're Burning Daylight.
Good guys and bad guys, cowboys and Indians, sinners and saints, masters and minions. They're all the same to me. They're all the same to me. Winners and losers, the weak and the strong ones, the young and the old, the right and the wrong ones. They're all the same to me. They're all the same to me. And your politrick magic might have fooled everybody, but you didn't pull nothing on me. Choose your battles or bite your tongue, 'cause you know your words have wings. Bar your windows and lock your doors when the puppets start cutting their strings. And watch your step when you find yourself in the company of kings. Good luck and bad luck, hard times and easy street, fortune and failure, dirt roads and concrete, the rich and the poor, the will and the way, the love and the hate, the night and the day. And your politrick magic might have fooled everybody, but you didn't pull nothing on me. Choose your battles or bite your tongue, 'cause you know your words have wings. Bar your windows and lock your doors when the puppets start cutting their strings. And watch your step when you find yourself in the company of kings. Good guys and bad